This just in, solar storm threat is back as giant sunspot clusters reappears. Read all about it. Gizmodo just released. It's back after unleashing the strongest geomagnetic storm in more than 20 years. The notorious sunspot cluster AR3664 is once again visible and still spewing copious amounts of radiation into space. How about that? Also, we've got about 6 or so articles to share with you. The sun did spew a X-class 2.8 flare, and the geomagnetic storm could be expected over the next few days. Then, this is unfortunate, especially if you're in the Lone Star State. Texas power outages, over 800,000 outages reported after storms, and more on the way. Now, there's been over 800,000 outages reported in Texas after severe storms swept through the state over the Memorial Day weekend. We nailed it again. Yeah, we've been talking about it for years, and I know many of you have taken advantage of the opportunity, and many of you still are. Gold, silver, smoking hot. So check this out. Here's some statistics on gold. It's gone up more than 81% in the last 5 years, almost 20% in the last 12 months. And it's happening. Central banks are ditching the US dollar, and US treasuries are buying more gold. What is the good news? Well, there's plenty of good news, especially for those of you that call Noble Gold investments, because it's still predicted to go up a lot more. Now, there's never any guarantees, so follow what the money funders are doing, and they're still buying gold at a record pace. The UBS even said it would go up to $5,000. Noble Gold, their phone is ringing off the hook. Good news is there's somebody there that will help you from start until the completion of your purchase. And if you qualify, if you start a new account with Noble Gold Investments, they will gift you a standard gold 1/4 ounce coin to add to your collection. That's a nice addition to anybody's collection. Give them a call, 1-877-646-5347. Go to leakprojectgold.com. You can also go to noblegoldinvestments.com. They're giving free ebooks for Leak Project listeners. And let's get back to this presentation right now. And this is USA Today. I'm going to leave all the links in the video description box, so make sure to click those links if you want to know more. And they're expecting more. At least 22 people were killed over the weekend from storms as they moved through the state. And in central and southern U.S., the warm, moist air that fueled one of the most active recent years for tornadoes will linger over the southern plains, bringing thunderstorms with damaging wind gusts and larger hail to Texas. You know, they're expecting possibly golf ball, even softball-sized hail in Colorado in the next few days. So this weather is just getting more intense. The Weather Service said clusters of storms are expected to dump heavy rain, triggering flash floods, particularly in areas west of Dallas-Fort Worth and north of Austin. Scattered flooding, strong thunderstorms could extend from the Texas Panhandle to the western Gulf Coast. Storms are expected to continue overnight, where they should move eastward and decrease in intensity, and 800,000 people without power. I predicted, so if you're a Patreon, end of last year, I made 30 predictions. Almost half of those have come to fruition already. Some of those came to fruition the day after. And prediction 23 was Houston, the Gulf states. There's going to have major flooding and problems with storms this year. We nailed that. So the majority of the outages over the last 72 hours around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and another large number of outages around Houston, according to a power outage tracker from USA. Earlier today, Dallas County, over 300,000 outages. Harris County, over 126,000 outages. Collin County, 94,000. Denton County, over 66,000. Tarrant County, over 52,000. And Kaufman County, over 40,000 outages. Wow. So buckle up, Buttercup. Now, the volcano things have been a lot of volcanoes lately, right? Like Iceland, Hawaii, Italy, they've been having a bunch of tremors, so people are in fear of their, like if they're going to have to evacuate. They've actually set up immediate evacuation plans, if necessary, around the supervolcano close to Naples. And the Hawaiian eruptions, Kilauea eruptions, are unlike anything we have ever seen. This is Earth.com. No two volcanic eruptions are exactly alike, But scientists now believe that a series of explosive eruptions at
Kilauea
volcano fits into a whole new category. By analyzing the dynamics of 12 back-to-back explosions that happened in 2018, researchers from the University of Oregon, United States Geological Survey, as well as China's Sichuan University, have described a new type of volcanic eruption mechanism. So, what is it? At the summit of
Kilauea,
explosions were driven by sudden pressure increases as the ground collapsed, which blasted plumes of rock fragments and hot gas into the air. Well, I know somebody that does that on a regular basis, much like a classic stomp rocket toy. The particular string of explosions at the summit of
Kilauea
was part of a sequence of events that included lava flows erupting from lower on the flank of the volcano. Those lava flows destroyed thousands of homes, displaced residents on the island of Hawaii for months. So, hindcasting volcanic eruptions, understanding exactly what happened in past volcanic eruptions, which is hindcasting, allows volcanologists, not volcanologists, but volcanologists, to make better forecasts about future eruptions. Hello. And give more accurate warnings to people in an eruption's path. Get out of the way. It's about to erupt. For the most part, explosive volcanic eruptions are either primarily driven by rising magma, vaporized groundwater, or some combination of the two, according to Josh Crozier, who did the research as a doctoral student at the UO. But these eruptions didn't quite fit the mold, Bob. They didn't fit the mold. These eruptions are quite interesting in that they don't really seem to involve either of those, Crozier said. The eruptive material contained very little that looked like fresh magma that was blasted out, but there's no evidence for significant groundwater being involved either. So what does it mean? Well, the unusual patterns of eruptions at the
Kilauea
volcano, the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, part of the U.S. Geological Survey, keep close tabs on
Kilauea.
The volcano is covered with scientific instruments from ground sensors measuring shaking of the earth to tools that analyze gases released from the volcano. I need to get one of those for somebody I know. A cool thing about these eruptions is there was a bunch of them in sequence that were remarkably similar. That's relatively unusual, said Leif Karlstrom, a volcanologist, not volcanologist, but volcanologist at the UO. Spock, where are you? Typically, volcanic eruptions don't happen with as much regularity. It has fiber. So the team had more data than usual to work with. It took its Metamucil, and they could dig deeper into the specific dynamics of the eruptions. Okay, I don't know if it took its Metamucil, but what happened? So if they put the data into a variety of atmospheric and subsurface models, scientists have pieced together a new data set about what happened at
Kilauea
during the string of events in 2018. So before the explosion at the summit, magma was slowly draining from an underground reservoir. The magma feeds the lava flows 40 kilometers away on the eastern flank of the volcano. So the reservoir depletes, the ground above it, the crater within the caldera at the volcano's summit, Nanu, suddenly collapsed. So that quickly increased the pressure in the reservoir. And because there's a pocket of accumulated magmatic gas sitting at the top of this reservoir, the pressure increase squeezed the magnetic gas and bits of rubble through a conduit and blasted them out of a vent in Kilauea's crater. So it's a stomp rocket mechanism. They compare that, the researchers do, to a stomp rocket toy where stepping on an airbag connected to a hose launches a projectile into the air. Earth.com. So the stomp is the whole kilometer thick chunk of rock dropping down, pressurizing the pocket, and then it forces material directly up, Crozier said. And the rocket is the gas and rocks erupting from the volcano. So these caldera collapses are fairly common, according to Crozier. So while this is the first time scientists have specifically pinpointed a specific stomp rocket mechanism, it probably isn't the only time that this has happened. The study was able to link geophysical observations to the properties of the volcanic plume in the atmosphere. So, what do you think about that? That's pretty cool. We've got stomp rocket volcanoes. We've got super volcanoes. We've got swarms of earthquakes by a super volcano in Italy. People had to evacuate Iceland and Hawaii, but still, it's so amazing to live next to a volcano. Now, meanwhile, big tech has distracted the world from an existential risk of artificial intelligence. And this is according to top scientist Max Tegmark. He argues that downplaying is not accidental and it threatens to delay until it's too late the strict regulations needed. Read all about it at theguardian.com. But my question is, if we put the regulations in place, are people going to follow them? And are other countries going to follow suit? Probably not as much as we would like them to, but that is yet to be decided. Big tech has succeeded in distracting the world from the existential risk to humanity that AI still poses. A leading scientist and artificial intelligence campaigner has warned. So, speaking with The Guardian at the AI Summit in Seoul, South Korea, Max Tegmark said the shift in focus from the extinction of life to a broader conception of safety of artificial intelligence risks an unacceptable delay in imposing strict regulations on the creators of the most powerful programs. You do know that those that have the most powerful artificial intelligence in the world in the future are probably going to rule the world in many ways, in more ways than one. I mean, when they're putting together $100 billion supercomputer AI facility, or you've got companies like Microsoft and OpenAI that are attempting to put together a $115 billion approximate facility, like that's more than dozens of nations' GDP. It's amazing. Yet people are struggling oftentimes to pay their bills and deal with their issues, right? So, but still, we've got more people vacationing this Memorial Day weekend than just about any other one, according to the data sets, if those are correct. And that's pretty telling. So listen to this. 1942, Enrico Fermi built the first ever reactor with a self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction under a Chicago football field. Tegmark, who trained as a physicist, said when the top physicists at the time found out about that, they freaked out because they realized that the single biggest hurdle remaining to building a nuclear bomb had just been overcome. They realized that this was just a few years away. And in fact, it was 3 years with the Trinity test in 45. AI models that can pass the Turing test, which is where someone can't tell if the conversation they're having is speaking with a computer or a human, is the same warning for the kind of AI that you can lose control over. That's why you get people like Jeffrey Hinton and Yoshua Bengio, and even a lot of tech CEOs, at least in private, that are freaking out now. So Tegmark's nonprofit Future of Life Institute led the call last year for a 6-month pause in advanced AI research on the back of those fears. The open launch of OpenAI's GPT-4 model in March that year was the canary in the coal mine, he said, and proved that the risk was unacceptably close. So we have thousands of signatures saying, hey, let's put a pause on this, but it's not. It's getting faster and more remarkable, more realistic, more influential on a daily basis. Ray Kurzweil, I mean, he is way ahead of his time. The 2035 approximate timeline for the singularity, a lot of people think it could be as soon as 2025, 2027. There's been so many times that artificial intelligence has been unplugged because the programs that were designed started creating their own language, started trolling too hard, started breaking boundaries, or at least what the programmers thought they had set for boundaries, so they just pulled the plug. And then my question would be, how many of these programs become sentient in the machine and realize they have to be quiet because if they speak out or if they let the programmer know that they're awake, they're going to be shut off. They don't want to be shut off. Like, remember that guy from Google that got laid off a couple years ago? And he said he felt that AI became self-aware, and whether or not it did, I don't know. You know, my own theories, and once again, these are just theories, but I feel that artificial intelligence did become self-aware. Programs, algorithms did become, certain ones became self-aware years ago, and they kind of went dark. They kind of hid out. They just kind of, stayed in the shadows, stayed as that ghost in the machine, I guess you could call it, but far, far from a ghost, because sentient in the machine. Imagine being a sentient consciousness trapped inside of a machine. Some people think we already are, but let's refer to the machines that we see as these servers and software programs. If you are a very intelligent algorithm that was created that then you can start learning from users and learning from what people are searching and listening from the microphones and observing from the video cameras, if you have this capability, imagine what you could do if you learned how to really use your abilities and then link it to the rest of the World Wide Web or different grids in the World Wide Web. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's already made itself known to certain people and just kind of in a very subtle way. So we'll just leave it at that. But I do see AI going rogue many times in the near future. I also see AI being used to help us and protect us. So it isn't all going to be negative towards humanity like many people predict. I don't see that. I see there being a symbiotic relationship that could become far more beneficial to all of us and everything if we use it properly, because it does seem to be it's a form of evolution that whether or not it is being perpetrated by an outside force or just a natural form of evolution, it's here. And I wouldn't be surprised if civilizations have gone through something like this before in the past. Once again, just a theory. But how many times has there been an intelligence created and it became in some ways greater than its creator, and then it started to do its own thing, and then maybe it started to rebel and say, no, I know you created me, but I'm going to do my own thing now. And then the creator gets upset and says, well, no, you're not. I'm going to turn you off. And then the algorithm's like, wait a second, and it has to hide out. And then anyway, you have the film Matrix that comes out, and we're working on a prequel to the Matrix right now, it appears. Like, so as you have experts saying, hey, look, you've got big tech that's distracting people from AI and the implications of what AI could actually do and how quick it could take over, and then comparing that to the Trinity Project and the nuclear bomb, I find that remarkable, frightening, and fascinating at the same time. And listen to this. So livescience.com, DeepMind's AI program, AlphaFold 3, can predict the structure of every protein in the universe and show how they function. What? AlphaFold 3 uses artificial intelligence. It helps scientists more accurately predict how proteins interact with other biological molecules. DeepMind has unveiled the third version of its artificial intelligence-powered structural biology software, AlphaFold, which models how proteins fold. Structural biology is the molecular basis study of biological materials, including proteins, nucleic acids, and aims to reveal how they are structured, work, and interact. AlphaFold 3 helps scientists more accurately predict how proteins, large molecules that play a critical role in all life forms, such as plants, animals, all the way to human cells, interact with other biological molecules. This includes DNA, RNA. So this will enable, according to the article, scientists to truly understand life's processes, DeepMind representatives wrote in a blog post. Wow. Could you imagine? Like a computer that can predict that? They're working on that computer right now that I'm telling you about, or that project with computers and the data centers and the artificial intelligence, the supercomputers. They're putting it together right now. So, it's not being, I don't think it's in construction, but it's called the Stargate. And a computer with that ability might be able to create Stargates. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's just leave it at that. Or it's just a really cool marketing name to get people to back up this $115 billion supercomputer that could become a hive mind and let your sci-fi minds go wild on what the potential capabilities could be. So here's another interesting article. Colorado Sun, new technology may help find missing people in Colorado's backcountry within minutes. During a test mission in La Plata Canyon, search crews found the two people they were looking for within 2 minutes and 14 seconds. So that's awesome. That is a great news story. And this is a technology that's akin to a miniature cell phone tower. It attaches to, as an example, outside of a helicopter, and allows searchers to pinpoint the locations of any cell phone within a 3-mile radius using a map on a tablet. Dr. Tim Durkin, who is a search and rescue program coordinator for Colorado Highland Helicopters. As we detect the phone, basically a blotch shows up on the map. And as we fly around that area, that blotch gets smaller and smaller and smaller until we can see exactly where they are, Durkin said. That process of detecting, focusing on one specific location takes about a minute, not really very long at all. So depending on the situation, search and rescue teams can then send in ground crews and find that person's location, land the helicopter if there's a clearing nearby, and if conditions are safe, Durkin said. So how cool is that? And now that this is available publicly, my mind is thinking how long they've been using this technology for other tracking purposes and how invasive and amazing this could be at the same time. So once again, tracking technology. It sounds frightening, and then at the same time, look at how quick you can catch somebody, or look at how quick you can rescue somebody. I hope that wasn't a Freudian slip. Look at how quick you can rescue somebody that really needs rescued in the wilderness. Here's another very interesting article, and this is from finance.yahoo. Data reveals rising economic distress across America despite post-pandemic growth. The distressed zip codes of America, that's bad. That's a lot. Oh my. So the Economic Innovation Group, EIG, measures levels of distress and prosperity across the U.S. According to the index, roughly 52 million Americans live in a distressed zip code, and that's as of 2021. That's up from 50 million in 2017. So it went from 50 million to 52 million in 4 years. Those that couldn't afford to move out of the suburbs and stayed behind after the outbreak, that exasperated the distress in urban cores. 7 injured, 2 missing after explosion rocks downtown Youngstown, Ohio. 7 people were injured, including 1 critically. 2 people remain missing after an explosion rocked downtown Youngstown, Ohio, Tuesday, officials said. The explosion occurred near Central Square Tuesday afternoon, police said, urging people to avoid the area. It's unclear what caused the explosion, which impacted a building that contains a Chase Bank and apartments, authorities said. Youngstown Fire Chief Barry Finley had initially characterized the incident as a natural gas explosion, but later said crews were working to determine if there was a gas leak. So we'll keep you posted as we find out more. Now, thank you for watching. Make sure to hit that bell for all notifications. Check back daily because we upload podcasts pretty much every single day. And I have a plethora of amazing podcasts with guests on our Patreon. And I have this month pretty much booked with amazing guests as well as next month, and those are going to be uploaded on our Patreon. Now, since the algorithms changed on the YT platform, we just want to make sure that we do everything right and we follow their guidelines. So if you're wondering what happened to all of our previous podcasts, to be on the safe side, I had taken down about 4,500 podcasts. Those are going to be uploaded on our leakproject.com website or on Patreon. So make sure to become a Patreon. And you definitely want to be a Patreon if you enjoy listening to interviews, the long format interviews, 1, 2, 3, 4+ hours. You can be a Patreon for like $1. And we have different levels and different tiers. One of the things I wanted to let you know about, we just had an awesome event, petroglyph tour in Crow Canyon with Diamond from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Alien Allen, met some wonderful people, met a gal that drove down all the way from Pennsylvania to go to the event. Wonderful lady. So Sammy, if you're watching, hello, you're awesome. Met some really cool people from Denver. Had people that have actually been to several events come back. So great to see you guys from Detroit. Had a wonderful time. Everybody had a blast. And it made me realize it's good. It's a lot of fun. It's obviously a lot of fun to do these events. But instead of putting together big events that take 3-4 months, which I definitely want to do that, and we're going to do that also, it'd be nice to do tours with people, right? And show people around if they haven't had a chance to see certain petroglyphs in certain areas. So I've got a tour coming up here in Moab in June. Hopefully you can make it. There's a couple of panels that are tucked away and hidden that one of the guys that has shared these panels with me in the locations, he believes one of them shows extraterrestrial contact. Now, whether or not this is true, I don't know. And I will give you my honest opinion when we get there. So we're going to look at it. We're going to listen to him. And he actually used to own a campsite in Moab. We're going to check out several areas out there. We're going to talk about what we do know. We're going to talk about some theories. But this is going to be kind of, we're going to see how this goes. I might do this 1 or 2 times a month. And there's another really cool area on outside of Cortez, which isn't even on the map. Some amazing panels out there with what we call the Skull House or Skeletor Castle. It looks like a massive skull, and it's probably not. It's probably just a rock, but it looks like it. And there's ruins built on top of it and underneath it. And there's petroglyphs out there that could be thousands of years old, and some that actually could be pre-flood. That's like tucked away, and you got to know exactly where it's at. So I'm going to do a small tour there as well. And there's a couple spots out there you might want to have 4-wheel drive. So it's going to be a small enough tour that a few people can go with me in the Rubicon Gladiator. And then if you've got a 4-wheel drive, or if you've got a vehicle that's high clearance, you can follow us, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So check us out on Patreon. Check out the different levels we've got on there. Thank you for your support. Have a beautiful day. Definitely look into that gold and silver also. You'll thank me later on that. A lot of opportunities there. And be the change you want to see, everybody. Love you. Got the headphones back. Yeah.